A United States congressman was detained at gunpoint, not by a hostile regime, not by the IRGC, but by Israeli settlers carrying American made M4 rifles. Rifles that his tax dollars went to fund. And when the IDF showed up, they sided with the settlers, even though there was a New York Times photographer standing right there. And in this clip, we are going to see Khanna go off and expose as well as take down Benjamin Netanyahu over the experience that he had. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
California, Khanna. Congressman Khanna, welcome to Uncensored again. You hit the news because you were detained, you said, in the West Bank in Israel for 90 minutes by armed Israeli settlers during a visit there last week. You posted on X, Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they sided with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. Now, you were visiting a small Palestinian village that was abandoned after escalating attacks from settlers and then demolished. You were eventually allowed to continue your journey, but this has created a huge firestorm, obviously. A spokesman for the Israeli military said it received a report of Israeli civilians unlawfully blocking the vehicles of foreign nationals and members of the news media near the village. Troops were dispatched to reopen the road. The spokesman said the military disputed its soldiers had participated in blocking the exit and said the identity of the armed civilian was being reviewed. And when Benjamin Netanyahu was asked about this, he said this.
We're a country of laws, and people who break the law, we take them to court. In the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, we've had thousands of attempted attacks and warnings against terrorist activities, against innocent Israelis, families, mother with their children driving along the road. They're stopped by terrorists and they kill them. And this has happened again and again and again. There is a vigilante effort, not by the settler community. They're 99.9%, law-abiding citizens. I don't want vigilantes of any kind, and we are working to put them under the law. But I think if we put things in perspective, we should see that we have thousands of attacks and some few, but obvious breaking of the law. Then we apply the full measure of the law against them.
Now, what's interesting about this is that Haaretz, which is one of the big newspapers over there, wrote an editorial on the incident in which it was entitled, Khanna got the VIP version of what West Bank Palestinians face every day. And certainly there have been myriad reports of appalling behaviour by Israeli settlers against Palestinians, very aggressive expansion of settlements, and repeated evidence in these reports of the IDF siding with the settlers, even when they appear to be committing crimes. So, Haaretz is not wrong here by categorising this as being you, as an American over there, obviously encountering what Palestinians get all the time. So, a long-winded intro, my apologies for that. But Khanna, your response in particular to what Netanyahu said there?
Well, I appreciate your laying out all the facts. I am just stunned that Americans are detained by vigilantes. A foreign government cooperates with those vigilantes, and the American factual account is being disputed. I don't understand it. I mean, there was a New York Times photographer there. It's not just my testimony. It is the testimony of Israelis who were with me. It is the testimony of security forces. It was written up in detail in Reuters and the New York Times. And the prime minister is denying what happened. His ambassador is denying what happened. I guess people who can lie about a genocide feel licensed to lie even about the illegal detention and threatening of American citizens. But what is outrageous is if this happened anywhere else in the world, it would be a massive international incident, and it would require the government to immediately arrest the people who did this and to investigate the soldiers who did this.
A lot of your critics, as you know, because they've come racing out to criticise you, the Israeli ambassador to the US, Dr. Michael Leiter, said you mischaracterized it. He accused you of visiting the West Bank as a political stunt to distract from your past support of Graham Plattner, the former Maine US Senate candidate accused of sexual assault, and to promote your own presidential run for the White House in 2028. What do you say to that?
Well, he didn't describe any of my 3 previous visits to Israel as political stunts. What bothers them is that I said I wanted to have a Palestinian-led tour through the West Bank. And I informed the Israeli government that I was going. Obviously, I got through the airport. They helped me get back home. But what bothers them is that I said I was going to visit Palestine from a Palestinian perspective. And it's not just about me. They don't want other American politicians to do that. Just today, Piers, there was body camera footage released about this whole incident, which shows that the IDFs were siding with the settlers. And so the ambassador is on national television just lying. Now, their hope is that America just moves on and they can obfuscate the facts. But they're really risking the anger of a lot of people in America because this was how they treated American passport holders.
And what is extraordinary is it comes against a backdrop of Israel getting more and more unpopular globally, but especially in the United States, with nearly 2/3 of US adults now having a negative view of Israel, which is significantly up year on year. I've repeatedly called out members of the Israeli government like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in particular, whose rhetoric and actions, and in particular actually involving the aggressive expansion of settlements on the West Bank and the IDF complicity in that, these guys, they don't seem to care about how unpopular they make Israel if they can have license to achieve their bigger plan, which appears to be expelling all the Palestinians out of Gaza, out of the West Bank, getting rid of maybe up to 1 million people out of southern Lebanon as well now, that they have a grand plan here and they don't really care about global opprobrium for it.
You're absolutely right. It's just the utter arrogance of power. Here's what would happen in a normal situation. Let's say this happened to me in Saudi Arabia or China, not necessarily always aligned with the United States. You would have the head of state or some cabinet member come out and say, we absolutely condemn what happened to Congressman Khanna and the other Americans. We will make sure that we take prosecutorial action against the vigilantes who did this, and we will have an internal investigation. This is not how we do business, and we're sorry that this happened to Americans. And if they did that, it would be a one-day story. But the fact that they are calling into question my credibility, calling into credibility the New York Times photographer, the New York Times journalist, the Israeli citizens who were testifying to this, denying that there was anything wrong. It just shows how arrogant they are to deny things that people are seeing with their own eyes on video.
What do you make as a high-profile American politician?
So look, I'm going to leave a link in the description below so you guys can go and check out the rest of this clip, because it really, really is an interesting interview between Piers Morgan and Congressman Khanna. But look, I want you guys to really think about this. And this is honestly my frustration when it comes to Israel and the power that Israel holds over the United States. An American congressman is detained by armed vigilantes, and the foreign government's response is to call him a liar. Are we going to think about that? Because this is what's interesting, and this is what honestly genuinely blows my mind. If someone like a Ted Cruz, or when he was alive, a Lindsey Graham, would have went over to Saudi Arabia or to China, and the exact same thing was happened, that he was detained by armed vigilantes, I want you guys to think it would be a massive international incident, and Donald Trump would be condemning it, and you'd see Republicans all over condemning it as well. But the funny part is, when you take a look online in regards to this situation that happened to Khanna, all you see is the complete opposite. Republicans are actually out here siding with Israel and the IDF. Like, this is exactly what's happening. Honestly, this is so weird, because this isn't even a he said, she said sort of situation. A New York Times photographer was there, and Reuters wrote it up. Israeli citizens testified to it, and there's body cam footage showing the IDF siding with the settlers. And the denial isn't a defense, it's a confession of contempt. And the line that it is that Khanna used, people who can lie about a genocide feel licensed to lie even about the illegal detention of American citizens. That right there is literally the entire doctrine, all in one sentence. Netanyahu's 99.9% law-abiding settler line, it completely falls apart the moment that you read, I can't pronounce it properly, Haaretz, which is an Israeli newspaper, saying that Khanna got the VIP version of what the West Bank Palestinians face each and every single day. And this is what's mad, that what actually enraged them wasn't the visit, because Khanna's been to Israel multiple times. It was the fact that it was a Palestinian-led visit, a Palestinian-led tour, because they're not afraid of American politicians visiting. They're afraid of them seeing what's actually going on and their wider plan, which is the Greater Israel Project. And this is what it's all about. Nearly 2/3 of US adults now view Israel negatively, and it's rising year on year. And you have the Israeli politicians like Smotrich and Ben Gvir. They don't give a damn. They don't, because the plan was never popularity for them. It's always been about expulsion. And Khanna just watched the machinery up close. Let me know what it is that you guys think down below, because this is such an interesting conversation for me. The fact that the settlers were carrying American-made M4s, tax dollars that Americans have literally paid for, and armed the men who detained an American congressman. I really want you guys to sit with that, because if that was me, it would not sit with me at all. Not well. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below and hype up the video. Help us get to 100,000 subscribers. We're less than 10,000 subscribers away. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.